Hello, welcome to Kevlar's Quest, the Modern Life podcast. I'm Kevin Ejizi. Today's quest is the hidden trap of mental issues labeling. The hidden trap of mental issues labeling. Over the past 40 years, the numbers around mental illness have skyrocketed. It's not just expensive for individuals and society, it takes a huge emotional toll on countless lives. So, how did we get here? And why does it seem to be getting worse? To answer that, we need to understand one word, and that word is impersonal. Impersonal. And when we say something is impersonal, it's turning something that isn't really a thing into a thing. And when it comes to mental illnesses or mental issues, impersonal explains a lot. Okay, let's take the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM, the latest edition. This latest edition of the DSM, it lists nearly 300 different mental illnesses. Compare that to the early 1990s, when doctors recognized only two mental illness, and that was schizophrenia and manic depression. At first glance, this looks like progress, but here's the catch. None of these 300 illnesses can be objectively measured. Unlike physical diseases, mental illness or mental issues is diagnosed mostly through self-reported symptoms. You tell a doctor you've had 5 out of 8 symptoms for a month, and suddenly you have a disorder. In other words, the patient often decides how sick they are. Imagine if medicine works that way for cancer or diabetes. It will be chaos. Now let's look at a mental illness like ADHD, attention deficit hyper disorder. This book, the DSM, itself admits that there are no lab tests, brain scans, or neurological markers that can diagnose it. The same goes for depression. The same goes for schizophrenia. Across the board, there are no objective tests. Yet, we treat these conditions as if they are solid and measurable diseases. That's impersonal thinking, turning subjective experiences into things we call disorder. Can be very dangerous. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying people are faking it. Most people are genuinely suffering. But here's the problem. When we make symptoms impersonal, we risk turning fake problems into real ones. For example, obsessing over crooked picture frames while your house is on fire. The obsession itself becomes the real problem, even though the original issue was trivial. This matters because impersonal often removes personal responsibility. People start to believe their depression or anxiety is like being colorblind, something they can't control. But in reality, many symptoms are influenced by choices, habits, and environments. When we treat them as untouchable things, people lose the chance to take back control. So that's why I have labeled it impersonal. We are making the mental disorder impersonal. And as you've made it impersonal, it's just like one trick fix all. One trick fix all. And it can be that some people may just be having like a bad day. Their type of work gives them a bad day every day. So they'll just label it that they are depressed and they start taking drugs for it. The doctors or the people they go to see has actually made that issues that the person is having impersonal. One trick fix all. That is the way they think. Of course, it's cruel to blame people for conditions they truly can't control. That's why society moved away from the brutal asylums of the past. But most mental illnesses aren't purely genetic or congenital. They are shaped, at least in part, by how people live and think. And that means change is possible. The danger is that depersonalization, or making that their issue impersonal, creates dependence on specialists or labels or treatments that may not even be objectively measurable. Instead of empowering people, it can trap them in a cycle of helplessness. So here's the takeaway. Mental illness is real suffering, but the way we define it matters. If we keep turning symptoms into things, we risk stripping people of responsibility and agency. But if we recognize that many symptoms are within our control, we open the door to healing, growth, and freedom. Okay, that's our quest for today. Please subscribe, like, and share. Someone out there needs to hear this message. Maybe someone like you. Let's spread strength and clarity to those navigating this journey. We'll talk more in future episodes. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for listening, and take care.